Hello everyone, this is Johnny and welcome back. Today I'm going to give a little bit of an end of season update. I'm going to give updates on some of the summer cuttings that I took. Here are some I took in July and was able to get to root. We'll talk just briefly about those. And then I also want to give you an update on the cuttings that I took in June, and I've been giving you some updates on those. I was able to get some to root about 3 months later, and then now I'm going to check on those again and see how many more I was able to get to root. I'm going to talk a little bit about winter care. We'll also highlight some of the other cuttings that I did this year and just give a general end of season update. So if that's interesting to you, stick around. Let's go ahead and start here and let's talk about some of these cuttings that I was able to get to root this year and some of my progress there. Okay, this first batch here are some Japanese maples that I actually didn't show you me rooting these because it's basically the same process as before. But I have here several Bini Sazanamis that I was able to get to root. I have several of these peaches and cream that I was able to get to root here. Those are doing well. Here's an Alarian that I was able to get to root. We also have a porcelain berry ampelopsis. That one rooted nicely. And let's see here. This is a blueberry cutting that rooted. Another ampelopsis. A few more of the Bini Sazanamis here. So quite a few of those were able to be rooted. If we move back here, you can see that I also had a few more of the peaches and cream. So I had good success with peaches and cream. Those rooted very well. And interestingly enough, I was able to get the best success so far with the summer cuttings that I took in July. I was able to get all but one, and I had over 20 cuttings in one of my tote boxes. I was able to get all but one of those to root. And so July seems like in my area here in Zone 8, here in my Zone 8 garden, it looks like July for me is going to be the best time for me to take cuttings. But once again, beautiful variety, peaches and cream. I'm excited to see how that'll grow out this coming year. I was also able to get a number of these lavenders to root. So these ones here are the ones I showed you on camera, and then several of these here are ones I didn't show you because once again it was the same process, but I used one of my plastic tote bins for these, and I was able to have pretty good success rate with these lavenders, and I think these will look nice and pretty as we come into the spring next year, so those are doing pretty well. Also this summer I was able to get these pomegranates to root here as well. These are a variety called Wonderful, and I have 8 of these that I was able to root, and pretty simple process. I just stuck those in a pot with some soil and they rooted just easily this summer. So that was a success as well. Okay, lastly over here, I have 3 Mikazuki Japanese maples, and those are actually ones that rooted from the June cuttings that will give you an update here in a minute. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Cecile Brunner roses, climbing roses, and I was able to get those to root out this summer as well, once again in one of my plastic tote bins. So that seems to be working well. Okay, over on this side we have a lot of just the seedlings that just grew out in 1-gallon pots, and maybe those will get potted out this next year as they grow up. Another update that I wanted to give you here was for the air layer that I did. Of course, as I showed you earlier, I attempted air layers for 2 different trees, an Alpenweiss variety and a Pixie variety, and the Alpenweiss variety was able to root nicely. And so I'm going to show a clip here of me checking on that, and as you can see, I was able to unwrap this particular one, and you can see that it actually provided a good amount of roots. And so I took that and I potted that up, and so far that's looking good. And so I think that's going to be a good solid tree. Of course, it's already like 2 feet tall, and so that has a good head start. Good, beautiful tree. And this has great spring color. It'll have pinks and white and green, and just a beautiful, beautiful tree. Here's another section of just, once again, the seed-grown varieties. These are quite small. These are 1-year seedlings, most of these, and you can see some of these fall colors starting to come out. Of course, some are already red, but you're getting some of these yellows starting to come out, so those are beautiful, and these will probably get potted up next year. And you can see there's quite a few more across here. Here in this little section, these are some of the cuttings that I took in the summer. This is a Ginshi variety. That was a summer cutting that was successful. This is an Orangiola from the spring that I showed you earlier, Orangeola Spring. This is an Alarian variety also from the spring. Those are ones I showed you earlier. Of course, those are starting to, they'll lose their leaves soon because of the fall and the colder weather there. Okay, now I want to move to the June cuttings. About 3 months later, in September, I was able to get a few of these to root. And so I'm going to go ahead and put a clip of previously this year, once again, around 3 months after these were taken, and show you success then. And then we'll move into today, because as you'll see in this clip, I actually was not able to get a bunch of these to root yet, but they still looked alive. So I gave them more time. And now that we are here in November, I want to go ahead and get whichever one's rooted. And so let's go ahead and break to that clip of earlier this year, once again about 3 months after this was taken, and then I'll come back and we'll update you on what has rooted now. First of all, I'm starting here with the Bloodgood varieties. I have a number of these, and last year I had success with rooting Bloodgood, so I hope I have success this year. It looks like these are all pretty solid. They have good bud growth. They still look solid, so I think we'll have a good shot at getting some Bloodgoods to go ahead and root. So we'll start with those. Okay, so for the first one, there's actually no roots, interestingly enough. I'm going to go ahead and give that some more time in there, because I feel like, you know, when you look at this cutting, it still looks healthy. It looks like it's totally fine. I'm actually surprised there's no roots on that. So I'm going to give that another go. After I take these out, I'm going to go ahead and stick this one back in and see if it will root later on. But for now, I'm just going to stick this in the potting soil to keep it moist and ready. Interesting. Once again, the second one, no roots. It also surprises me because this cutting 3 months later still looks good. Third Bloodgood, once again, no roots. All right. Well, the Bloodgoods aren't doing very good so far. Very interesting. Nothing there either. Okay, once again for this Bloodgood, no roots. So I did 6 of these cuttings, and all 6, once again, still look good. They have bud growth, but no roots. So I think I'm going to allow those more time, maybe keep these in the box over winter, and see if they'll root over winter. That's going to be an interesting experiment. Okay, so I didn't have very good success with the Bloodgood cuttings, but let's move over to the Mikazuki and see if I had good success with a few of those. All right, there we go. That's more what I'm looking for here. Here's the Mikazuki variety. This particular one has really robust roots. These are really good, thick, strong roots, and super excited about that one. That's a beautiful tree, as you can see. Great variegation. I love the way the leaf margins are shaped there. One of my favorite leaf shapes there and styles. Beautiful tree, very strong root system. I have high hopes for this one. So let's go ahead and pot this one up, and we'll move to the next Mikazuki. I think I did 3 of these Mikazukis. Okay, here's the second Mikazuki. Once again, good, strong, thick roots here. That one also should do very well. The top looks healthy. Good, strong root growth. Once again, going to stick that in this potting soil sphagnum moss mix. Give that a shot at a good life. Okay, let's see if the third Mikazuki also rooted. Okay, here's the third Mikazuki. It does have a new root there, and then it has a more established, thicker root. Not quite as strong a root system as the other ones, but I think this one will still be fine. It's got some buds up top. The leaf still looks healthy there. It does have roots, so and the new growth there. So I'm gonna have to be careful as I pot this not to damage that. But yeah, I think this one will do well, and it did successfully root. All right, so for the Mikazukis, we were 3 for 3. That's definitely going to be something that I'm going to remember for next year. This Mikazuki tree, when I took the cuttings, it's a very small tree, but in the future, as I can take more cuttings, this gives me a lot of hope that I can have a very good high success rate taking summer cuttings from the Mikazuki variety. Now let's move over to the Ginshi variety. This is a small tree that I took these from, and I was only able to take a few very small cuttings. While they still look good, I'm unsure how well they rooted, but we'll find out. All right, the first one, once again, the top looks fine. And it's calloused over very interestingly. And it looks like there may be some roots that will form out of that, but at the moment, no roots. So I'm gonna give that another chance, like my blood goods, and see if that will root further on. Okay, here's the second Ginshi cutting, and as you can see, this one actually does indeed have some roots. And so that one, this one's kind of neat because I was able to get one that had like this Y shape here. And so it already has nice branch forms. It has some buds on it. It has one good strong root, and I believe more will form. And so I'm gonna go ahead and put that in one of these smaller square pots. And hopefully we let that one develop out to a good tree in the future. So once again, just a little bit of this sphagnum at the bottom. And then we'll put in potting soil for the rest of this to develop into. Okay, for the Ginshi variety, I was able to get 1 of 2 to root now, and the other one still looks good, so I'm gonna give it some more time with the blood goods. Okay, now I'm gonna move over to the Pixie variety, which I took a number of Pixie cuttings, and hopefully we have better success with those than we did with the blood goods. Okay, the first one, no roots, but it still looks healthy, so we're gonna give that more time. Number 2, no roots once again, but the cutting still looks very healthy after 3 months, so I'm gonna give that some more time. Number 3, no roots, but there's like the calloused over, and it looks good all the way down, so this is still a viable cutting. I'll give some more time. Okay, this one actually does look like there is a bigger root there forming, so I'm pretty sure that will form into a root. Yeah, that's definitely a root. So we have a root forming on this one. We're gonna have to give that more time. So for some reason, these are just needing more time, the blood good and this one specifically, but I feel like this is a good viable cutting that will root in the near future. Once again, no roots, but there's like the calloused over here, which seems to be the beginning of root formation. Calloused over, but no roots. Okay, once again, looks good up top. There's like that callousing, but no roots. No roots for that one either. No roots for that one. So of course I'm going to give the ones that didn't root some more time, as I mentioned, and I will update you later on with that update, because I still believe that the blood goods and the Pixie and the other Ginshi, since they still look healthy and they're starting to callus over, I think there's going to be some root growth and I'm going to have some more success with these cuttings. But for now, roughly 3 months later, the 3 Mikazukis rooted totally fine. This Ginshi here rooted totally fine. As far as aftercare, what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to go ahead and make sure that these are watered in very nicely. They're going to be protected in a shaded environment, not allowed to be in direct sun, obviously, and make sure that they are misted. I'm probably also going to put these under cover for the first week or so as I start transitioning these to a less humid environment as they develop out this root system even further. But yeah, so far these look good. Let's go ahead and stick the other cuttings back in the box so we can give you an update later on. Hopefully we'll have more success later on in the season. Okay, so first of all, on this side, we have our pixies. And so, as you can see in that clip that I played earlier, I was able to get none of the pixies and none of the blood goods to root, but I was able to get the Mikazuki to root and one of the Ginshis. So we're going to check on the rest of these a few months later and see how those did. You'll also see here, this little one is not one that I did in June, but this is an Alarian that I added from the July cuttings. And as I mentioned earlier, in my July cuttings, I was able to get them all to root but one. And the one that didn't root was this Alarian here. And so I gave that more time. It'd be interesting to see if that rooted now. Okay, so the first one, nothing. You can see there, it's calloused over. It looks like it might form roots. I might, you know what? I might throw that in and let that go through the winter and just see what happens, but nothing there. Okay, so for the pixies so far, not a single one has rooted, which is interesting. Let me check this one single Alarian from July. That one didn't root as well, nothing there. We can check this one little Ginshi. That one did not root. Okay, move over to the blood goods, see if any of those rooted. That one, nothing. Keep that separate here so I don't confuse those. So I'll put the blood goods on that side. Okay, there we go. That one, as you can see there, that one does have roots. So that one I'm going to go ahead and pot up. So that did get some roots since the last time I checked in June. So that's a good sign. So let's go ahead and pot that one up and then we'll check the rest. And I'm just using potting soil here, nothing fancy. Just a good garden potting soil, making sure that we cover those roots, get that nice in there. And then now that it's cool and the winter and fall temperatures are here, I'm going to go ahead and just put this with the others. Now, it won't have to be in a super humid environment because we're getting lots of rain and stuff right now. So there's that one. Let's see if any more of these were able to root in this box. Okay, nothing. Okay, that one has one single root. Kind of interesting there. So that is new since last time, and it does have one single root. I guess I'll go ahead and pot it up. You know, it's cool enough now. I think that'll be fine, so we'll go ahead and pot that one up as well. Okay, check another one here. Nothing. And that one. Well, it looks like it may try. Right there, it looks like there might be a little bit of something trying there. I don't know if you can see that, but something's trying. So because of that, you know, since these still actually look decent and still look viable, I'm going to go ahead and put these back in as they were. So I was able to get these two to root, and I believe earlier I was able to get 4 of these to root. So a total of 6 out of this box rooted now. I will give you an update maybe next spring, because once again, I'm just going to go ahead and stick these back in the box, let them go over winter. I believe I'm just going to take off the top and let the water naturally come from the rain and stuff. Let them naturally be exposed to the elements and see how they do. So let me go ahead and put these back in the box, making sure that I put them on the right side here. So this is the blood good side. Okay, so I got those back in, and like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and leave this outside like it is without the lid on, let the weather naturally hit it, and just see if through the winter if any more of these actually root. Since they still look viable, they'd calloused over. Some of them looked like they may have been forming little nubs. So I'll update you later on that. But so far, 6 out of the ones that were put in here have rooted. So not substantially great, but about what I had done in the past. And once again, I had the best luck in my July cuttings. So going forward, I'm going to do the bulk of my cuttings in July when the weather's nice and warm. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about winter care for Japanese maples. This is a question a lot of you have asked me, and so I want to go ahead and briefly discuss this. I do want to have a disclaimer here that I'm in a zone 8 garden. So if you're in a zone 5 garden or a zone 6 garden, I'll address that here in a second, but I don't have personal experience. I'm just going off of what I've read and what I've heard other people talk about. But here in my zone 8 garden, I can leave these out all year long, exposed to the elements, and I have no problem. We don't ever get really that cold here, and when we do get cold, it's just a bit below freezing, and we occasionally get into the 20s, but it's really not that often. So pretty temperate climate where I'm at. Now, if you live in a zone 5 or a zone 6, so technically speaking, Japanese maples are hardy down to a zone 5. But if you live in a zone 5 or a zone 6, extreme weather temperatures could kill the roots. And so what you want to do is you want to protect these if you live in a zone 5 or a zone 6 from what I've been told and what I've read. And you can do that several ways. One, you can bring them into a greenhouse environment. That's obviously probably the most ideal. The secondary thing that you can do if you live in a zone 5 or a zone 6, if you have extreme weather, you can make sure that you have mulch and other things around them to kind of emulate like they are planted in the ground. So you could take like a tray like this and you could put mulch and stuff all around it and kind of protect them with leaves or something like that. I think that could help. I think it could help if you raise them off the ground onto a bench or something like that and keep them in an area that gets a lot of winter sun, if possible, if you have to leave them outside. But once again, there's really kind of a rule of 2 zones. When you're talking about potted plants, if a plant is hardy down to a zone 5, that means in the soil zone 5. If it's potted, you have to take a little extra care. So that's just general advice that I have. Once again, I'm not an expert when it comes to winter care because I don't have to do a lot here, but I just wanted to briefly address that. If you live in a colder zone and you have experience, please leave that down in the comments below, and I believe that can help a lot of other people. But I just wanted to briefly cover that. Alrighty, well, thank you so much for watching. I hope this update was helpful to you, and definitely if you're not subscribed to this channel, consider subscribing because I have a lot of great content planned for this next year especially, but I'll be doing some winter cutting and some winter grafting, and we'll be going through that. I'll be showing you some of those steps and some of that progress as we move through the year. And then, of course, we're going to be planting up more Japanese maple seedlings in this coming spring. I'll be potting a lot of these up, and I hope to branch out into some other plants as well, as you started seeing me do here. So make sure that you stick around, and thank you so much for watching all the way through to the end. Until next time, thank you so much.